Now it's time to be dangerous. Now it's time to get risky. Now it's time to truly find out what you're made of and what you could achieve. Now it's time to truly find out how many lives you can impact. Now it's time to find out what you were destined to become.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We are Raw Minds. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm Anthony.
And I'll tell you this, man. It felt like we haven't done this podcast in like a month, but it's only been a week.
It did feel like that. Like, that was the longest fucking week of life, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about.
I don't know, man. It was like I sat down today and I was like, fuck, when was the last time we did this? I'm like, wait a minute. Monday.
Yeah.
We always do it Mondays. But
Yeah,
it just
man.
felt so long away. I don't know why, man. It just...
Yeah.
But, so how's things with you, man? I haven't actually talked to you all week until today, man.
Yeah, I know. We got to get back on that fucking talking
Yeah.
every day, man.
We're both a little bit busy, so...
Yeah, it's good, man. It's busy. Like, I've got a lot of stuff that I'm trying to figure out to be able to go to school for firefighting, so that's kind of consumed the majority of my free time. Yeah, and then I had the kids this weekend, had a good weekend with them. Went to my mom's for my birthday dinner, even though it was a couple weeks ago, but she took off to Cuba when I landed, when I got home from seeing you, so this was her first weekend home, so went over there, did Easter. It was good, man. How about
That's
you?
awesome, man. I mean, I've just been taking it easy, to be honest with you. Been gaming pretty hard, actually.
Yeah.
We're live right now. We got Aaron in the chat.
What's up, Aaron?
Yeah, he's a part of fucking my little posse we're making on Red Dead Redemption
Oh, nice.
2, man, with RP. So shout out to his character Sean, man. We have a good
Nice.
time. In the game, I was in jail for like 40 minutes. We went to rob a fort. And it just went to shit, man. So I got caught. Yeah, it was pretty funny, man.
Fuck real world problems, eh? Let's just make them in games.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know what? And that's the thing is like it's your escape from reality, and I get to play that person, right? You know what I mean? And just have fun, right? And you meet wicked people all over the world. Actually, what just blew my mind too is I met this guy in game. His name's Lucky, and he lives on Vancouver Island, man, where Owen lives.
Sick.
Yeah. So and he likes what we're doing, man, and all these guys actually do, man. So shout out to the Red Dead crew there. But
Beautiful.
he wants to actually link up with us, man, and talk and say some shit, man.
Yeah. And for anybody listening, if you want to link up and have a conversation, hit us up at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing people's stories. We love having you on. We love having conversations. That's what we're here to do. We're kind of here to shine a light on something that a lot of people don't talk about. So if you want to come on and share your story, or you just want to come on and have a conversation, or if you just have some shit you want to get off your chest and you want to remain anonymous, we won't even acknowledge it on the show, and you want to have a conversation off air, we're here for all of it. So yeah, hit us up at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com. Also, big milestone finally on YouTube.
Yeah. 200 subscribers.
200 subscribers, but I feel like we should be at 200,000. So
yeah,
friggin' subscribe to us on YouTube. That would mean the world, guys. Follow us on any social media. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Twitter.
All of them, man.
All of them. Yeah.
We're on everything. I do have to say we've been pushing pretty hard now. So we're trying to anyways get it up. And it's a hard one to get up, definitely. I mean, all our other platforms are doing pretty good. I mean, like we're like 14.3 or something like that on TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, we got a couple on Spotify, iTunes, you know, all the ones that you listen on. And we appreciate all of you guys. You know, we come out here and we love doing this, and we love giving you some raw, unfiltered fucking content, man.
Yeah, man.
And real life stories, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of real life story, this is the third part of our 3-part women thing session.
It wasn't even supposed to be.
No,
it just kind of worked out that way. Yeah. We're just calling it that now. That wasn't what it was intended to be, but that's what we're calling it now.
Yeah, that's the new name for it. Yeah. And excited about this one. This is actually the godfather of my daughter, Maggie.
Godmother.
Godmother, I mean. Holy fuck. Godmother of my daughter, sorry. I'm thinking the Godfather kissed the rose. But anyways, so excited to have her on. So I think we should just bring her out right now.
Bust her out of the back room.
What up, Maggie?
Hi, Maggie.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome.
Yeah, no, and I'm totally good with Godfather. It's not far off the personality there.
That's awesome.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to have you on. Me and you go way back. Even from back to you were hanging out with my sister. You knew me
Yeah,
back
back in
then
high
from
school,
then.
I mean, we've been stomping on the same grounds and in the same friend circles for a very long time, and you've been in and out in a lot of meaningful ways. So yeah, I'd say we kind of go back and just recently met Anthony, and that was a pleasure. It was a very
Yeah,
nice, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to say thank you for taking me out and showing me around when I was there. I genuinely had a wonderful time with you
Well,
and
it's my
Lucas
pleasure.
and Eric and Kinley, just kind of sightseeing and hitting the old water taxi. It was pretty fun. I had quite
yeah,
a good time. Yeah, you guys are good
definitely, man.
people.
You too,
Yeah,
brother.
yeah, it was a nice little short visit.
I do want to say one thing though, just before we get too far into this episode.
Mhm.
I want to bring up something, and I just want to say so. Something tragic happened in Vancouver here yesterday at like 8 o'clock at night. There was a Filipino festival, Lapa Lapa. I could be butchering that. I'm not too sure. Lupa Lupa or something. Lapa Lapa. Tragically, this 31-year-old drove his car down the street and ran over shitloads of people. 11 people lost their lives from the age of 2 years old, which is heartbroken, to the age of 65. And I'm blown away, like something, and having kids too.
There's a lot more
Yeah,
critical care right now throughout
there
the
is.
throughout
Yeah,
the Lower Mainland, and it's really tragic. They have a lot of code oranges in hospitals,
yeah,
meaning, like this is a mass casualty. So
yeah.
it's really sad.
Well, they said 20, like it's 11 right now. It could be more, but there's 20 that are seriously injured and a bunch more or something. I
Yeah,
believe something like
there's
that.
a lot
Yeah,
more. They just want to kind of respect it, but
yeah,
it's so tragic.
yeah.
It's really
So I just
sad.
want to say, like, my condolences. I'm really sorry for all the
Yeah,
families. No one should ever be able to have to go through that. You're going out having a nice time with your family, and then something tragic like that happens, and especially the kids, man. So I just
hmm,
want to our condolence from Raw Minds. We stand with you guys. So
absolutely.
just wanted to touch on that before we go any farther. But sorry about that darkness there. It's tragically. But why don't you kind of introduce yourself, Maggie? Kind of your little bit background there, and tell us a little bit about yourself in the field that you're in, if you want to.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, thank you once again for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity just to kind of share within this circle that you've created, and it's just like this wicked stellar movement you're making with I think huge stigma. So, kudos to that, and I think it deeply ties into not only the work that I do, but also just like the circles that I kind of gather in. Growing up, I was kind of, I think, kind of a bit of a tomboy, and so I've always had guy friends growing up, a lot of meaningful women relationships and still very strong relationships with women. But I often find that I commonly kind of interact with men on a much more organic and easier, natural level. And therefore, I've kind of been in the circle of men for a
Mhm.
male dominated, friend group. And then, throughout my career, I'm a journeyman carpenter and a B-ticket welder. And I have definitely been working in a male dominated industry for quite some time. I'm 39 now, and I started in the trades when I was about 15 in the
Mm-hmm.
summertime, working for my parents' company, stripping concrete forms and just kind of working my way up. And I just really always enjoyed it. And now I kind of partake in management role within the construction industry, specifically scaffolding. So again, not very many women scaffolders. So again, a very male dominated industry. Uh, I have three. Long story. I have three fathers. One has passed just recently,
My
and
condolence.
so I'm definitely very much a daddy's daughter. So it kind of comes hand in hand. So I think it's going to be. I love listening to your guests who come on and just having the different perspective and kind of putting myself maybe in hindsight of back into the past and going, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So what you guys are doing here it's a great tool, not just for the people that need, talking to mental health and having a presence where that conversation is more available to them, but it's also good for people who are working directly with it. It's nice to hear the different end of the conversation, and I think more realistically being able to put yourself in that person's shoes, because we often like to think we know what that's like, but until
Mm-hmm.
you actually hear like the raw and unscripted story of it,
Mm.
it can sometimes be hard when you haven't lived it. Yeah, so it's nice to have a place here to come and talk about it and kind of just hear my little perspective and my tiny opinion on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm happy. Sorry, I'm just fixing something there because they're not hearing some volume.
Oh yeah, the audio.
I'm happy though to have you in my life. Definitely, you're a very strong woman. You've had my back from day one. So I'm proud of you for all the shit you've been through too.
Yeah, I mean, like, and you've definitely had a huge role from a big part of my life. You and Kinley, and of course, Kinley's mother. I grew up next to as children next door, and then I grew up down the way from you, and we've all kind of known each other. And you guys introduced me to my late husband,
Mm-hmm.
who passed away about 4.5 years ago from stomach
Yeah.
cancer, and that was we did hospice palliative at home. We went through the thick of it, and yeah. But I just, even though I had a short amount of time, I'm very grateful to have met him, and
Mm-hmm.
to have had him in my life, and to have loved him, and to have been loved by him, and just everything that comes in between, with the good and the bad, and the pretty and the ugly of marriage and what it brings, and then
Mm-hmm.
this amazing gift of just perspective, I guess, after you've been through something so intimate and so close and so personal. You really get to see a lot of things that, you didn't really maybe necessarily see before, or sometimes it takes like almost a lifetime for us to realize. I'm really grateful for those lessons. I think a lot of times we don't generally, as people, we tend to, have to have something of great grief or loss or just a regret in our life before we realize these things. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Garvin was a huge part of my life, and I'll always be grateful that you introduced us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how me and Garvin met. What a crazy funny story, man. So I'll tell. I don't know if I told you this, Anthony, but I'll tell you anyways if you heard it. Whatever. Too bad. You suck. Um. So I was in my party years, right? I don't know, maybe mid-20s, around that. Maybe no. I was early 20s, and I lived downtown on like the 24th floor, and we went to the liquor store. There was a bunch of us. I had a huge party. There was massive people in my house, and went down to the liquor store. Liquor store was just down outside of the street there, so we took the elevator down, and then on the way back, we're going up the elevator, and the elevator stops on like the 23rd floor, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm thinking like elevators never stop while it's going up, right?
Mhm.
Like people go down, not go up.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just weird. And then these guys get in the elevator, and then I go up to one next floor, 24, and then me and my buddies get out. And then I notice these guys like walking behind me. And I'm like walking to my house. I'm like, maybe they're going somewhere else to walk to my house. They start walking down the hallway to my house. Mine was at that end. And I turn around, like, where the fuck are you going, man? He's like, I'm going to the party. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, I don't fucking know you. Like, who the fuck are you? You're not going to my party. He's like, I'm your neighbor. I live downstairs, man. And you're always having like these crazy parties. And I just figured I'd come up and I want to come to the party. I'm like, fuck, why don't you start with that? Come on in, man. So I brought
Wasn't
him
Owen
in.
with you? Wasn't Owen with you for that?
I believe Owen was with me. Yeah. Owen
Yeah,
was
'cause I
with me.
remember you guys talking about that when I was out
Yeah.
there. You guys told me
Yeah.
last
He
time,
was
yeah.
with me, actually. Yeah. And we've been fucking friends ever since.
And he
Yeah,
was
that's
always like that. He was a very social person, and
Yeah.
when you get to know people behind the personality, it's kind of funny how it all unfolds and
Yeah.
what it really is, and it's really. But his personality was so big.
Yeah.
As long as he was alive, I was, oh, you're Garvin's wife. Like I didn't really have a name beyond that. It
Mhm.
was he was the social butterfly. Yeah, he just always like right in there. Hey, how are you going? And how you doing? And he
Yeah.
definitely had the gift of gab. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was what a crazy story, man. Just to meet, like, how to, it was
Yeah.
pretty cool. And then introducing him to Maggie, and then they get married, right? Just amazing. What a great
like
story.
within like a year of knowing each other, like he just 6 months, and then a year later we were hitched. It was the craziest thing I ever did, and I never understood why until I understood why, and then I realized that there was a reason for us to do this thing together, and yeah.
I
Pretty
feel like it's
crazy.
one of those things. It's like when you fucking know, you just know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You just know.
Yeah.
You just know.
Yeah.
A reason, a season, or a lifetime. A psychology professor once said to me, and I think I've carried those words with me for the better half of my adult life, and I apply it to everything. And there's not one relationship that doesn't apply to one of the three rules, right? And yeah, I'm not sure, and maybe I'll never be sure, but I'm not sure which one that one was.
A
You know,
lifetime, definitely, because he's in your heart, man.
It's a
You know what I
lifetime,
mean?
yeah. It's just
Yeah.
and
it's
ultimately,
funny,
lifetime.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
you served a far greater purpose for him than you probably could ever
Yeah.
fathom yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah, and through grief counseling, like I kind of realized a couple of things, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The man got to die in his home. It wasn't in a hospital. It was in my arms with the dog next to his side, and we were just yeah, just quiet, and it was content. And through the process of hospice palliative care, I got to see a different side. I think that a lot of us sometimes never get to meet that person inside of us, like we're just you have nothing left to lose. It's all or nothing. And he became under all of it, like he was really a very confident man, but underneath he was like very self-conscious about certain things. And when he started to lose his his rugged, good-looking, handsome ways, he really felt self-conscious about that. And it was really interesting to see. And for such a what I thought was like a really confident man, I was like, oh wow, like it was really tied up into that. And I think he found something greater than that, and he became really at peace with that. And it was really a beautiful thing to see. And I would say that it greatly changed our relationship, because like there was no room for pride, like in our relationships, like we get really caught up in the like, oh, I'm right, you're wrong, and like just learning to like let go of the blame and just finding the solution, and just like even if it's like their fault, or it's all your fault, like just not like a just getting past that. It's definitely something I've returned back to,
Mm-hmm.
with a new relationship. But it's been a weird process reverting back into a girlfriend in that sense,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
from being a wife, and especially a wife of hospice palliative care. It's been an interesting journey, but one I wouldn't trade for anything.
See, like how you said that, about like arguing back and forth. And I always say this, in a relationship, if you get in an argument, it shouldn't be you versus your partner. It should be you and your partner versus the problem. And a lot of times it's not like that.
I think it's easier said than done, and like
Yeah,
it's like anything
definitely.
else. If you're not practicing it on a regular basis, like I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm perfect by any means. I still have my communication challenges. I still have my pride, and sometimes I confuse that with dignity, and like like my moral high ground or whatever it is, right? But just I think the greatest lesson is just like one, it's kind of a rip off of a book, but like the courage to be disliked, just to
Mm-hmm.
say no, and then that way I'm not like overstretching myself, so I can be available for those conversations, and really just being okay with saying I'm sorry, not just because like it ends the conversation, but deeply like taking that with the self-reflection, not just oh quick I'm sorry, like just like really
Yeah.
sitting with it
Yeah.
and being like like kind of like how I've used raw minds before, is where I've come in and I've heard a perspective, and I was like, that's how that guy was feeling, that makes a little bit more sense. I think it kind of like that, right? Just like actually visiting that, and being coachable, not just from your partner but from yourself, right? That's been a huge thing. It's funny because it's something I did want to touch base on today. I saw a video, and I saw it maybe about, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago or maybe a year ago or so. And it was this beautifully well-spoken woman, and she was talking about the emotional intelligence of one another, specifically men. She was asked to, like, just kind of like an open TED Talks kind of setting,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the guests said, "Do you think that women are actually ready for an emotionally intelligent man?" And the way she broke this down was so beautifully said. And it was, like, I think this new, I don't know, like this new regime of bad bitches, like it's just not really working, I think, for us,
Mhm.
because it's really toxic towards our partners, and we're really tearing our men down and the culture around that. And I think it puts us too much into our masculine energy, and I'm definitely guilty for this, especially being in a male dominated industry and especially managing men. I sometimes have to get into that, but to come home and to really get into my feminine energy and allow my partner to be masculine in that way, where I'm not constantly having that power struggle with him. It can be sometimes hard for me because I feel like I have to be like this strong, independent woman on a regular basis. And it's really hard to be vulnerable sometimes. And I think that's where I can get frustrated, and then I project that onto him. And, it can be really a really hard thing. And when she was talking about a men's emotional intelligence, she really kind of touched base on that in a way that like was like, wow, that's really powerful. And I kind of took something from that, and I realized that, like, if I want a man who's going to be strong, independent, and all this kind of stuff, and if I want to act up, that man who's going to be emotionally intelligent will be like, hey, you're disturbing my peace, and there's the door. And then I challenge that, and I get upset, and I think that it's a personal attack on me. But I'm starting to realize that, like, if I don't love myself, how can I love somebody else? And it's the
Hmm.
same for him. And that's kind of like where I'm at right now on my journey of a relationship and growing into that, to be more supportive in a way that's beneficial for both people in our growth.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate what you said there about like not taking things personal, because I was so, and fuck, I'm human. I still can do that. Like something that is completely irrelevant to me, but I take it as a personal attack, and like trying to step back. And it's like you said, Eric, like it shouldn't be you versus your partner, it should be you and your partner versus the problem, and
Yeah.
separating certain situations or even emotions from the relationship and talking about those separately from you personally. That's been one of the things I've tried to challenge myself on, and also be patient with myself on. I feel like self-compassion and patience towards myself has been like one of my greatest strengths that I've worked on over the past couple of years, probably since starting this. Honestly, like for me, those are the big ones, like patience for myself and just compassion towards myself. Like I've got a lot of people in recovery, right? And one of the things, like I sponsor some people, and like I got one guy, and like I just tell him all the time, I'm like, man, like take it easy on yourself. Like remember why you're here. Remember what brought you here. Like you are not where you were when you got here. Like that's an
Yeah.
achievement in and of itself. Like just because you're not where you want to be doesn't mean you haven't made great strides to get to where you are.
Yeah.
Like fuck man, when I got into recovery, it's like I want to stop doing drugs, I want to have my kids, I want to do all this and do all that. Well, ultimately, I do have everything that I wanted. I would have just liked it at fucking day 2 instead of 4 years in. You know what I mean? That's optimistically, that's how I wanted it to be, but it was like learning to slow it down, be patient, take it easy on myself, and just like if today doesn't look the way that I wanted it to look, it doesn't mean that tomorrow can't look better than today did.
Yeah.
I could end up with more tomorrow than I anticipated on having today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You never
It's
know, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I think for men, especially with emotional intelligence, that's one thing that men lack is emotional intelligence. Because I've talked about this before. I think I even talked about it last week, but I remember talking to my therapist about this and just being like, what's, as a therapist, like, what's the one thing you see with men? And she's like, I will have couples come in for couples therapy, and I will have a one-on-one with each of them, and then I'll have one together with them. And then I spend 90% of my time with the male, just helping him understand his emotions and learning how to navigate them. Was it with Therian or was it with Jenny when
Yeah.
we were talking about it? Was with Therian,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and we were
Yeah.
talking about like anger is like the only socially acceptable emotion for men to show. That's changing now, but like we I don't want to speak for all men, but certainly for me, growing up in the construction field, so you're familiar with these types of people, Maggie. Like anger was a tool that I learned very early on in my construction career that was a way to maintain control over the situation and the people in it. So when I had my own business, the way that I would maintain control was explosive anger. Now, when I say that, I learned that from a guy I worked for when I lived in Calgary. I moved up to Calgary in 2012, and that's where I kind of started everything. And this man would scream at us at the top of his lungs. But what I learned very quickly from him was he would never attack us personally. He would only attack our quality of work. And he would always say things like, man, like, I've seen you do better than this. Just like this is bullshit. Like, fix it. But he would like scream at the top of his lungs. So I'll be forever grateful for that, man. Because if I don't know if I would have learned the skills that I've learned if it was approached in any other way. I feel like that was kind of the direction I needed at that time in my life to kind of get me honed in on what I actually wanted to know and learn.
A little bit
But
of tough love.
yeah, extremely tough love. But I took that into my business, and man, I literally made employees cry and leave and then go to my brother and ask my brother for a job in the same day.
Really?
So when I finally like broke down the walls of like all of this and started looking at all of it, and I remember sitting with my therapist, she's like, yeah, you use anger as when your expectations aren't met. You use anger as a sense of control. And then I started like reviewing my relationship with my kid's mom at the time. It's like, holy fuck, like anger is the only thing that I know how to do. If it's not in my control, I think if I just get angry and freak the fuck out, it's going to go my way. But it does the complete opposite of what I actually want it to do. It's just instilling fear in people, and then people do things out of fear. You're not actually teaching them anything. They're not actually learning anything. You're not even getting your fucking point across. You're just scaring the shit out of people to get them to do what you want them to do, and it's not healthy. So having to like take a step back from all of that and relearn, first of all, what my emotions are and how to navigate them was a crazy thing. I had a conversation on the phone earlier with my kid's mom. We're going through some stuff with our kids right now. So she's pregnant with her boyfriend, and I'm super happy for both of them. And my son is really struggling right now. He's only 6, and he doesn't understand why when the baby's born, the baby can't come over to dad's house with him and his sister. So my kid's mom's having a hard time with it, but we were on the phone, and I guess my daughter had made a comment to her, like to their mom, basically saying like, you need to tell daddy to yell at my brother more because then he'll listen better. But daddy doesn't yell. So on the phone, she's like, what the fuck? Like the person that I knew, the person that I dated, that's all he did was yell. And now the kids are saying that I yell more than you do. I was like, yeah, I just learned that I don't need to yell to get my point across. And I feel like people listen better when you don't yell. You can,
It's 100%.
yeah, you can portray a way better message if you just take a fucking second and breathe. Like, and you're allowed to be angry. Like there's certain situations you have every right to be angry in, but you can still articulate something far better when you're not solely acting out of emotion. Take some time and think it through and have a well thought out conversation before you just fucking explode.
It's funny that you say that because, like, I've actually, like, upon reflecting on, like, my behavior, especially as a manager for the company I work for, I've been with them for nearly 12 years. So it's a good chunk of time. And I've predominantly almost always have held like a management position there. And there's a few things that you can come to Maggie for, right? Like that Maggie's got your back, like it's fine, like she's well informed, blah 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 blah. Like I do well in my role, and like they trust me in a lot of ways. But there's some ways that I've actually earned their distrust, and there's some things they don't trust me with because I have very little patience, and my tolerance for bullshit is minimal. Like it's fucking minimal. Like I'm real sweet, but I'm pretty quick to call you out on. She'd be like, "No, you didn't," right? Like, and it's something I'm working on. Not perfect by any means, but I don't really beat around the bush. I'm very direct, and a lot of people quite offended by direct conversation. And I think it's maybe I gotta learn to smile more when I deliver the message. I don't know, but I'm working on it. But I would say that there's things I've definitely earned the distrust of guys, and one of those things is like maybe like, hey, you messed up on something that you've repeatedly been told not to do. or they kind of won't say it, or I'm like, hey man, like what's going on? And and I saw that I was losing some of my buy-in, right? And that's my culture. If I don't have a culture at work, I really don't really have much, right? I've just got another construction company that's running around, screaming just to get production done, profit before people. It's just not the company I'm working for. And I'm really proud to be working for who I'm working for, because we do, and my manager was very good. He's been a mentor and a very good friend. And, he said, your communication, it's not that it's not wrong. It's just not being delivered in a way that guys are going to trust you to come to you at a later date. Like, yeah, you might find the solution now, but there's going to be 10 other problems down the road that they're not going to come and trust you to talk to
Mm-hmm.
you about, because you're not patient enough. And it's like, these aren't your friends, they're employees. And you just got to have a little bit more patience with it. And I started like taking workshops about like communicate positive communications and stuff, because I'm not necessarily angry. I'm just kind of very, monotone to the point. And it's yeah, I don't know. And the workshops I took, using certain languages, like, for instance, our motto is safety, quality, quantity. So, I asked the guys like, hey, or give me quantity, quality, safety. What can I do as an employer to help you get back to where you were at? And
Mm-hmm.
just trying to take it on to myself. And it is really come down to communication. So you're right. And it's funny that you say that, maybe we pick it up from workplace, but I think men, especially, are victim of the old saying like, "Stop it, or I'll give you something to cry about." And what are you crying for? Big guys, big boys don't cry, And then it's what do children do with that stress? Like adults, we have responsibilities, and this is my belief. It's maybe not everybody's, but we don't really have stress as adults. We have responsibilities, and if it's becoming unmanageable or too stressful, then we've taken on too many responsibilities and we've bored ourselves in. Children don't have that freedom. There's no autonomy there for children, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you eat if you're given food, you're housed as long as you have a home. So for children who may struggle through some of these things, there's really a lot of stress around that. So I think, like, especially young boys, when they're taking that away from them, when they're not given an outlet to truly, and it's really only new parenting that are letting little boys cry and cry it out. And it's not this mentality of like homophobia and all this kind of stuff, right? Like just letting little
Yeah.
boys be little boys, and
Yeah.
that they're not grown men. So I think that a lot of boys get that, anger, um like that loss of control, because like from get-go it's like, stop crying. Well, what do you do then? You just get angry, and then all of a sudden you've got the scapegoat of, oh, boys will be just boys. No, it's suppressed anger. it's
Yeah.
it's the lack of outlet for young men. And so we start here, and eventually one day, there'll be a normal conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is. And it's through generation that it's bled right into you. And I was just actually watching a video, I think it was yesterday, and they took a jar and they put fleas in the jar. And then they put a lid on it. And then they left the lid on for 3 days. Then they took off the lid and left the jar there. And those fleas would not jump higher than that lid. Even though the lid was off, they took it off. The fleas were conditioned to only jump that high. And for the rest of their lives, those fleas will only jump that high to the underside of the lid.
Oh yeah, no, we're totally institutionalized as
Yeah.
young people in the way that we communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's a very, I saw that one. I thought it was a great way to kind of show that in a more visual aspect. And it's,
Yeah.
it's true, right? If you continue that off a cycle, it just keeps happening generation after generation after
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah. I mean, I'll straight up say this. My grandpa was a mean man. He was in World War II. He was a mean man. And then my dad, he used to beat my dad all the time, and my dad was a mean man. But there's me. I broke the chain. I didn't want to be any part of that. I started off as a little punk, definitely. Doing the wrong things, and well, definitely Maggie, right? Running a terror in
Yeah.
Burnaby, definitely. Yes. But like seeing me now, you wouldn't even think I was that person back in the day because I broke the chain. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it. I don't want to put that onto my child as well. You have to. You have to break the chain, and it starts with you at the end of the day.
It's for me, it's really cool raising a son. It's great having one of each because I don't really need any more, like I love
Yeah.
both of those kids. Not saying that I would never, just like I love both my kids, but it's really cool to learn alongside my son growing up and unlearning the things that I learned at his age. Like I pride myself on the fact that every single night that they're with me, I tuck those kids in, I kiss them on the forehead, and I tell them how much I love them. Both of them. And this isn't a knock on my dad, and it's kind of like you were just saying, Eric, like my dad's dad didn't do that with him. My dad didn't do that with me. That's not my dad's
Mhm.
fault. That's just how he was raised.
Yeah.
And my dad has never been one to verbalize his love for me and my brother. The only time that I can recall my dad telling me he loved me was when he was in the hospital last summer awaiting open heart surgery because he was fucking terrified,
Yeah. I
And it
remember when you
shouldn't,
told me that.
yeah, and it shouldn't take something like that, but it did, right? But for me, it's like, man, I get to like sit alongside my son when he's having really big feelings or he's really upset. And at the same time, I don't feel like I have to take away the masculinity from him. Like if he wants to fucking throw hands with me, buddy, I'll punch you in the arm. Like if you want to punch me, go right ahead. Like feel my muscles, like you want to play fight, let's play fight. But I also don't have to take away the freedom to feel
Yeah.
what I didn't get to feel. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to go through all that stuff. I can still be rough and tough with my son, but when he's having big feelings, like I don't send him to his room and tell him to come out when he's done crying. It's just like sit on the couch with him and it's like, what's going on, man? Like, is everything okay? And then he'll start crying and he'll say, well, if you want to talk, like we just gotta calm our emotions a bit so we can talk and we'll work through it, Like crying's not bad. If you gotta cry, fucking cry it out. But when you're ready to talk, we can talk, and being able to do that with him is beautiful. And also like learning how to navigate having a daughter as well, and a daughter who is just like her mother. And there's a reason I'm not with their mother. As much as I love that woman as the mother of my children, there's a reason I'm not with her. And just like patience for that too. And like they went, so she does Girl Guides, and they had, when was it, like 2 weeks ago? They were talking about periods and everything. So I was putting my daughter to bed, and she's 10 and she's very mature. She's like 5'2", her feet are size 8.5. Like she's not a child. Like
Holy cow.
she's a fucking giraffe. And he was like going to put her to get bed, and I was like, oh, like how was Girl Guide? She's like, oh, it was really good. We talked about the fact that we have 3 holes. I was like, that's a perfect conversation for you and your mother. Like you can leave me out of that one. I'm glad you had fun. Like she brought this little tampon mascot home that she made.
Mm.
I was like, yeah, that sounds great, sweetie. Like you could talk to your mom about that because I am not experienced in that field.
Yeah,
But
I'm like on the verge of that right now, man. She's like on the, you know what I mean?
I'm just waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, but I was advised by someone, and I went and got some tampons and put her in her backpack just
Did
in
you?
case she's at school, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I'm thinking ahead, but I mean, that is not my department. I'll tell you
No.
that.
No.
Maggie, I'll
It's
be
enough.
calling you to come over when that happens.
Honestly, you know what? You're really, I think, in the best time to be a father to a daughter. If there ever was a time, it's now.
Yeah.
Google is a wonderful thing, supervised, of course,
Yeah.
given the keywords that we're putting in. But I think really the birds and the bees is a conversation that they're probably having at school anyways.
Yeah, they do.
But just to
Oh,
be
I
there as
know.
a moral guide, to be like, oh, okay, so no, you don't get pregnant from swallowing, right? Because like I only say that because when I was 11, I remember coming home and I heard that and I didn't really understand, and that's why I asked my mom, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" You know.
But I gotta cut you off there. I mean, there is some people that should have been swallowed, though. Let's say that,
That's
okay?
fair, but that's definitely not how they were conceived. So, like it's kind of funny, but like they really, I think that as long as you're there, and I think parents, it's a little easier now. You have so many more resources and guides, and it's a pretty commonly talked about subject. I think
Oh yeah.
amongst like our preteens and adolescents, you're just really there to make sure that stuff is available. Like, hey, do you know how to use it? Do you want to? Do you
Yeah.
need me to call your mom over here to like help you figure it out or something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not so bad. But like honestly, I never needed any help from my dad's. It was pretty well understood that they're like, "Do you?" I'm like, "Nope," and they're like, "Cool,
Yeah.
I'm always here." And that
I
was
hope
about
that's how mine
just to
goes. I'll tell you
know.
that. That
Yeah,
would be
just to know
awesome.
that they were there was good enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just be over there. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just here's the card. Just don't spend over 100.
Yeah.
And then of course I'm always here if you need help, right? So
Yeah. That's
no,
awesome.
no, it's kind of funny. Like I've been watching you guys like on this journey, and like like how much it like Raw Minds has grown from like just first your little podcast that was started, and you like had a couple followers, and I'm like, yeah, go Eric, and like you had like this kind of step up, and then you got like a co-host, and then you've got like another co-host, and you just like really grown this whole thing, and it's really cool. And I think that it's nice to hear all the stories about how guys are connecting in this way. And it was actually because I really like respect that kind of like all men's mental health space. And like, I think there is still a very strong opinion about it being solely a men's space. So I appreciate the trust to come in here and be able to, kind of enter into this space, and knowing that like, like of course, like it's a perspective of a female, right? But yeah, like it's definitely it's a really cool thing, and I really appreciate what you guys are all doing here. It's nice to see. Like I said, just using it as a tool and just hearing other people's stories, and I think a lot of it's really relatable, regardless of the lines that you walk in life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my parents, I won't say who, of course, but like my parents are, I was an AA kid, like I grew up in the AA. And so, like, when I hear a lot of the stories here, I'm like, okay, like, like I hear things that are really relatable, and they really humble, I think, some other individuals and myself. Like, just like, oh, yeah, like sometimes things are bad, but they're not always, like, there are worse things and worse things to go through. And just a really nice reminder that there's like other people going through the same struggles and having a hard time with maybe some self love, or, finding the right help, or just like even learning how to ask for help. And just enough of your guys coming on here and just like being super vulnerable and like, trusting your space. I think it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Thank
And
you.
it just meeting all walks of life too is just
100%.
all around the world. I mean, we're in 20 different countries, I think.
Wow.
Mhm.
We might be in one more actually, but it's saying unknown right now. So it's
Yeah.
whatever that means. But
Wherever you are, one more person listen from there, so we know where you're listening from.
yes.
Do you guys
I have
like
an idea.
do you guys like where do you see yourself in like 5 years, like Raw Mind as a whole?
Ooh.
I mean,
Oh,
ideally,
sorry.
no, it's all
No.
good.
I think it's really cool, and like I see some of the things that you're doing. I don't know if you're like talking about loud about like some of the changes you guys are making, but like it's just really cool. And like, do you guys like have like a broader thing? Like, do you want to have like this whole brand thing? Do you want to
Yeah.
keep it more of like a kind of a franchise of like smaller like groups for men, like
Well,
TED Talks? What do you got?
we want to do like definitely we're making a brand, right? Definitely we're making a brand,
Yeah.
and Anthony's spearheading that. And then we also have the Raw Mind Society. We have a nonprofit organization that we have no idea what the hell how to do it, but we're trying to figure it out.
We
So
have, yeah, we have some goals for that in mind, which I think will help a lot of people. But it's one of those like, I hate the saying "fake it till you make it." It's more just like fuck it up and figure it out. I
yeah,
feel like that's a better one.
I
I
like
think
It's
that's a
just
that.
like,
T-shirt, buddy. That's a
yeah,
fucking T-shirt.
yeah, there you
Fuck
go.
it up and figure it out,
Yeah.
I like
right?
that. Yeah.
Fucking rights, it's a T-shirt. We'll add that to the collection.
But I think it would be really cool to be able to offer support outside of this. Because I remember when I came on the show as a guest, And I had said something to Eric and Joey at the time about, like, you'll never understand how far your voice goes, because there'll be people that won't even tell you that there's something you said. And I'll give you a perfect example. I called Eric last week. So
Oh yeah, this is wild.
yeah, so my kid's mom works at a women's shelter, and I don't think I've even said her name on here, so it's confidentiality is fine. But she called me one day when I was at work. She's like, "Hey, do you have a second to talk?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" She's like, "So I just had like the weirdest thing happen." And I'm like, "Okay." And she's like, "So we had this woman come in, and she didn't tell me names because she can't for
Yeah.
confidentiality purposes, obviously." She's like, "Oh, we just had this woman come in, and I was doing an intake with her, and we just kind of see where they're at." And she's like, she was like struggling with addiction and some stuff. And then they asked kind of like, "What are you doing on the positive side of things? Like, what's your self care routine look like?" And this girl's just like, "Oh, I listen to podcasts." And my kid's mom wasn't even thinking. She's just like, "Oh, cool. Like, what ones?" And she named off a couple. And then she's like, "Oh, I also listen to this one. It's called Raw Minds." And my kid's mom's just like, and my kid's mom can't say anything to her because then it breaches her confidentiality. She's like, "Okay, like that's pretty cool." So
So
then
now,
she
if you're
calls.
listening to this, now you know.
Yeah, shit, edit this out. But no, like it's just cool. So I was on the phone with her. I was like, because like my area is not that big. So I said to her, I was like, "Do we like know this person?" She's like, "I have like I know who she is now, but I have no idea who this person is. Like aside from meeting her at work." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, and that's what I love is like you'll never know
Mm,
the impact that you're making. You'll never fully understand the importance and the impact that you have. But it's like as long as you keep doing it, like it's going to impact
yeah.
something positive. But it would be nice to organize not necessarily an event, but some form of social outreach for others, and not just to us, but just like build a network of people who just want to help, to just have that network and kind of introduce that to the world. Like, if I'm being honest and I'm shooting for the stars, I know how important treatment was for me, especially dealing with addiction. I don't see why there's any reason why you can't have treatment facilities specifically geared towards mental health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If
So
they
to
don't
be able,
That's
already.
not institutionalized. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, like you have men's groups and you have men's retreats, but like a treatment facility that's specifically for people in a mental health crisis where they can go, that doesn't feel like an institution,
Ah,
and
okay.
it's
Yeah.
kind of like a social detox, a mental detox. Because one of my favorite parts about going to treatment is I didn't have to think. I didn't even have to wake up in the morning because someone came around and woke me up. They told me when to be there and where to be. I got to hang out with a group of people. I got to go to classes, learn about clinical emotions and how to manage anger and all these things. And then I had someone cooking me food. My reality outside of that treatment facility was so irrelevant to me for 30 days. I could just focus on me. So to be able to do something like that, and even do like men's ones and women ones, just like a mental health treatment facility, to me, this again, this is shooting for the stars, would be fucking crazy, because I think it holds equal, if not more, importance than treatment facilities for addiction and alcoholism.
Hmm.
I actually really agree. And like, unfortunately, and this is where I think that we've been conditioned in mental health, is that we always talk about it when it's already a problem,
Yep.
right? So
Yeah.
like we're talking about rehab or treatment or anything, but like where's like, like the proactive approach? Like where's preventative harm measures in our mental health? So like I wanna see kind of like maybe we talk about like men's mental health has a month, but how relevant is that from a day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
basis, 365 days out of the year, right?
Hmm.
So like in school, we talk about mental health, and like there's still a huge stigma around that because like you're still dealing with a lot of like adolescent egos, kind of finding out who we are and be comfortable with those decisions of who we are and maybe where we come from. But like when we talk about options like that, like realistically, like even just the space to facilitate that is expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
like so what are I would like to see, and something that I hold very dear, and I just honestly never see anything being done about it, and it really pisses me off, is that I get a lot of guys at work, and of course I wouldn't never use names here, but like I get a lot of guys at work who are on the borderline of suicide or just complete and utter disability of depression and real depression. I'm not saying say self-diagnosed depression. Like I'm talking about like people who've been clinically like, like it's debilitating and they're in the bed and like
We're not
why
just having
brush
a
your teeth?
fucking
It's
sad
not a
day.
matter of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
should I? It's like, can you?
Yeah.
And, like and when, they do come around and they finally reach out for help, like, hey, like I'm feeling this way. Where, in what province besides psych hold is there help?
See,
And
that's how
like,
my friend lost his life.
but
Exact
that's what I'm
thing.
saying is like I've got guys at work. So what? I tell them to call 811, which is our healthcare number, right?
Yeah.
The free
Mhm.
outreach, like healthcare professionals. Phone 811. They say, oh, okay, call 411 or whatever it is, like 311. Sorry, and then they phone 311 and they say, oh, okay, if you're suicidal, like we can call car 57, which is just like basically an underdressed police officer who's going to be escorting you to the hospital. So like, and then if you work in an industry like I do, where that could actually highly affect my employment, like nobody wants me to be managing high hazard industries if I'm calling this kind of help if I were to need it.
Mhm.
Benefits cover very little. When I have a very good friend of mine who's part of the I won't say which division, but fire and rescue out here in the Greater Vancouver area. Their benefits are fucking atrocious, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get like $300 a year. I will say $300 a year for counseling.
I
The
get
fire
more than that
department.
as a construction worker, for fuck's sakes.
I have more than that in a month
Mhm.
towards massages. Like what is going on? So like
Yeah.
where's all the like the proactive measures and like so like in that and I hear it all the time and everybody's talking about it, but it's we're only talking about things that you're talking about now, like once it's
Mhm.
already a problem.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, yeah, parenting is great, but I mean that's I guess it's because I'm not a parent, it's easier to say, but children are not the same people in front of you as teenagers as they are outside of the house, right? So like
No.
what they're experiencing out there might be a little out of touch for us and like kind of far away from our experience of growing up. But yeah, it's the proactive measures that I'm concerned about for our youth and with the limited amount of resources available for your average person. And what I read somewhere that like if you make over like $87,000 a year, you belong in a small percentile of Canada because most people are making underneath. Where, how are we addressing it before it's a problem as a
I think you
society?
just gave me a great idea with our society.
Well, and you know what? Like
AA meetings, right? They're great. It's addicts helping addicts, or alcoholics helping alcoholics, or widows helping widows. And there's tons of 12-step programs, but like you said, there's not really much one for mental health. And when you do overcome it, where's beyond like really expensive treatment? Where's the ongoing thing
mhm.
of what most people find successful?
MHMs, man. MHMs. Mental health meetings.
Man, that's it. Man,
Yeah.
that's it, right? And like it's about giving back and like having a place like this more than just on Mondays and stuff, and like having it a regular part of our society. I think that would be really great.
And I think, and this is just my brain talking while you're talking. I don't have time. I'm a single father with 2 kids who works a full-time job, and I've got to financially support these kids, and therapy is expensive, even though my benefits cover a portion. Like that's,
But you still have to make the time for that.
yeah, that's right. And I don't
And
have
then you
time.
have to maintain that, right? Otherwise, it's just
Yes,
like getting a vicious breed dog and not maintaining it, and then like 10 years down the line, going, "Why is my dog out of control?" It's like, well,
yeah,
you can't just train it once. It's a constant thing, right? So,
exactly,
and
exactly.
that's I think where a lot of and it's not realistic in Canada. In most places in the world, I would imagine that a single income is just not a thing anymore. It's a thing of the past where mom could stay at home and look after the children until they fly the birds coop there. It's not a thing anymore. So more
Hmm.
and more and more you find latchkey kids, and for those that don't know what that
Yeah.
term is, it's for the kids that have fully working class parents who are home from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on their own and just behind the latchkey. It's like, don't answer the door for strangers, be home before light, and like don't have guests in the house and no parties. no pills, no powder, graduate. And that's really kind of like, that's the line we walk on. And I was a latchkey kid, and I really had a lot of autonomy, and I'm really glad I made the decisions I've made, because I look at a lot of my friends and they fucked up.
It's true. I mean, it's so expensive even to live. It's just ridiculous. I mean, in Vancouver, to fill your car, you got to work 2 weeks just to fill your fucking tank. You know what I mean? Because it's so expensive on just alone
That's
on
the
gas.
first
man.
thing I tell people. Like, I was like, oh, I went out to Vancouver for a week, and I tell them all the time, the first thing I saw when I landed was gas was $1.94 a liter. That's fucking insanity.
That's like normal. Actually, now it's 149. It was 149 yesterday.
Yeah, but we haven't seen those prices in forever. Like, honestly, like they were up in the high $2. Like, I'm really grateful that it's a part of my work benefit. But like, yeah, man, like it's not realistic nowadays to have that. So, putting the time into your families, it's having 3 jobs if you've got 2 kids, and then you're supposed to make time for yourself, because it's the airplane. If you're not putting oxygen on yourself, how the fuck are you supposed to help everybody else, right?
Yeah.
You're just like sitting there gasping for air and wearing yourself thin. It's a pretty hard thing to do, and I applaud to all the single parents out there, and not even just the single parents, just parents in general, man. It's a hard thing out there, and then we're all just trying to get on board with the new way to communicate, and
well, that's where fight or flight like comes into play too, right? So in those circumstances now, it's fight or flight. You got to fight to work, pay the bills, take care, or some people run away from all this because they can't handle it, and it's sad to say, but it's the truth. You got a lot of fathers and mothers on both sides that will just
mental health again, right?
Exactly.
It's like saying, like, again, it's addressing it when the problem's already so vastly gone past the point of any kind of mild control methods or anything like that. You just it tailspins. It's a really hard thing to do, man. Like, and it's been the number one reason why I'm 39 years old and I've never had children. It's scary, and I watch a lot of my girlfriends and my guy friends out there, and they're just working their ass off to just try to get by, and and I don't see a lot of time for their mental health, and constantly, with Garvin and I, we were always called the dinks, right? Like, double income, no kids. So, and it was, and that was it. And they're like, oh, you don't understand, kids. And it's like, oh, it must be nice to have all this stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, it must be nice to have kids. Like, it would be really nice to have, but the strain on it alone. I mean, I kind of get on because I have 60 boys, right? I like to say, in construction there. So, and a minivan. So I'm kind of half set there on the rental end, but it can be a very huge stress, and there's a lot of respect for it, because making that time for myself as just a single person, just my one human self. I don't have to rush around for anybody but myself or my dog. Yeah, it's a struggle. So, finding that time and having, so if there's something that I can do to help maybe get something more in place for proactive and harm prevention measures, if you guys have something, just count me in totally, because I see a need for it, and I'm sick of giving people the 411 because that's what labor law says we have to do, but there's nothing else we could do, because if we advise, we become liable. It's the same stupid law that makes restaurants throw out perfectly good meals because you don't want to make a homeless person sick, so they sue you.
Yeah. Well, is it Italy or is it France that they this one? Was it a supermarket or a restaurant? Not old food, but I don't know. They give it away. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
Is it?
And a lot of countries will do that, but here in Canada, everybody's so worried about liability that you can't be a decent human being as an employer, and just having no resources. It's you don't know what to do, and you watch people tailspin, and it's really hard to watch, because I see a lot of really good human beings coming through with the best intentions and just not enough resources.
At the end of the day, set up to fail, right? A lot of times they're just set up to fail.
And I agree with everything you're saying, Maggie. It shouldn't require you being in a crisis for you to make a change, because it's completely preventable, the whole thing. Because that's what, when you were saying, what is there for preventative maintenance? The only thing I could think was, well, there's crisis intervention, but it's called crisis intervention for a reason. You're already on the fucking edge by the time you go. Yeah, which And again, crisis intervention is a tool that I used when I was in a crisis, but you don't have to go through the shit that everybody's gone through to get the help. You shouldn't have to. Ultimately, that's the goal.
And there are things that people can do, obviously, like, to keep yourself sane. And I would say the really big thing for me, and maybe I'm very privileged and blessed that I live in British Columbia, and as you can see from my background there, that
Mm-hmm.
I love the forest, right? And anybody who follows me on social media will know that, like, that's it. I'm out there taking pictures of nature. And, like, if you look anywhere else in the world, especially in suburbs and like cities, number one thing they say for therapy is forest bathing, going out and
Mm-hmm.
actually like just being in nature, and really having that time to reflect when there's nothing else but yourself and your own thoughts. It's kind of like that, like that self pillow talk. And it's just like that's really been a huge thing for me. And I think it's been the most sobering thing because you can't really lie to yourself.
Mhm.
And but it's been a really scary place, one to arrive to, and two to stay in.
Mhm.
It's been a struggle, and it's been my own personal adventure, and I've been so disappointed in myself in so many ways, but I've also been really proud of myself that I'm like, oh wow, like I did see that. And like, sorry it took 10 years, or sorry
Mm-hmm.
it took my entire life to get here, but I'm here. And I think being an AA brat, kind of helped me see some of that, and like having the language and the tools to, like understanding the difference between needing people to accept your apology and making amends. They're two
Mhm.
very
Mm.
different things. And when you see people
Touche.
practicing
I
and
like
working
that.
their sobriety, you're like, wow. And you're looking at it from the outer perspective, and the outside
Mhm.
person, you're like, oh fuck, that's aggressive, man. That's not amends. That's a you need an apology so you can get to the next person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I kind of do that with some of my emotions, and it's been a really weird journey. And I guess you hate to say it, but like, mirror, mirror on the wall, I am my mother after all.
Mm.
Never
And
heard
like
that, but
I used to shame my mom a lot. Like I would be like, "Fuck, why isn't she better? And why isn't she this?" And I had a lot of expectations, and especially for my dads, I'm like, "Man, why aren't they more like this?" And like, maybe looking at other people's journeys and their experience, and not really appreciating my own parents that way. And
Mhm.
it's been a journey, and it's a really weird place to be. And I just yeah, it's been the most sobering, is just really sticking there by myself and just being okay with it, and kind of going through that. And like they say, like, I love going to an AA meeting, and I love going to my parents' sobriety cakes, and being there, and just being partaking in all, and just being there, a part of the crowd, and reminding other parents like, hey, as kids, we don't know how to say, but we know you're doing something good here.
Mm.
That's why we're quiet in the corner. That's
Mhm.
why we're not making it difficult for you in those rooms, because like we don't know how to verbalize it, but we know something good is going on there. And I still continue to return there, and I always get something. And I just, the words at the end of every meeting, we all know it if you've been there. I've never been an alcoholic, but I've been going to AA for many, like, what, 39 years. And it's, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that applies to fucking everything, because you could, like, what was that movie, Get Him to the Greek or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
he said something that sticks with me and will probably live rent free in my head for the rest of my life. You can turn anything into heroin.
dude.
You
I
can.
say
You can turn yoga into heroin. You can turn sex into heroin. You can turn manipulation, your narcissistic tendencies, your reactive narcissism, whatever you got loaded in that arsenal, you can turn it into heroin. You just got to be careful. Everything in moderation, and don't get complacent with it, man. Having that time for self-reflection is like, it's been my biggest thing in my growth of going into my 40s and feeling good about it.
See, we
my
took two different things from that movie. My favorite's the Jeffrey.
the
Touch the
Jeffrey,
fuzzy
yeah, the
wall.
furry wall, yeah.
I'm
But
sorry. But it will always
Maggie,
live rent free in my head. And he
yeah,
just so
Yeah.
dead soberly looked at that woman, and I can't remember the actor's name, and he says, "We could fucking turn yoga into heroin if you really try, like you
Yeah. It's
can."
so true. So
Yeah.
true.
I, this is my definition of addiction. When you use anything in excess to avoid the reality that you're currently living, that is addiction. That is my definition of addiction. And Russell Brand is actually a huge
Mm-hmm.
12-step advocate. Like he's
Yes.
huge in recovery. Therian was talking about his book last week. Remember she was talking about that book?
Yep.
That's his book. Yep. Yep. I've that's one of the biggest things that I learned early on it and came to understand. My phone is just as bad as cocaine. You know, validation from people is just as bad as cocaine, because if I'm getting validation from people, well, then I don't need cocaine to feel normal in a room that I don't feel comfortable in. You know, one of my sayings is I could walk into a room full of people and I could fucking hate every person in there and I wouldn't want to be in there. But if you let me go in the fucking kitchen, smash a few lines, come back in, I'll feel like the fucking life of the party, because I don't feel comfortable in my skin. So what is it about being in my skin that I don't like so much? And that's what recovery is about, is figuring out not so much what you don't like about yourself, but just accepting you unapologetically for who you are.
And
That's
I've been doing that with
all it is.
I've been doing that with my behavior, right? Like,
Mhm.
so because I am this really strong, independent, like, amazing woman, and, I give myself the affirmations that I think I need. But, like for me, I was aggressive and I became complacent with my confidence, and I
Mhm.
started being abusive. And I really had to go, whoa, like there's a difference between confidence and just being a bitch. And I
Mhm.
think I was crossing over, and I'm really glad that I have good people in my life and ones that trust me enough with their honesty to say, hey, Megs, you've been really aggressive lately, and like I don't really appreciate it, or coming to me in a way that is coachable. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. And like, but you have to be comfortable in that space, and you have to like, it's a challenge, right? And yeah, it's so funny going back to what you said. There's something my stepdad always says, and I just love it. And every time he has a cake, he always says it. And he says, I used to say, I don't have a problem with alcohol. People have a problem with my alcohol using, like, and it was
Mhm.
so true. And it's so funny. And it's same thing with my anger. And, I'd say like, oh, I don't have a problem with my anger. You have a problem with my anger, right? Because it was
Mhm.
kind of working for me. But then I realized the result was I was just earning people's distrust in a lot of other valuable ways.
Yeah. And to me, that's just ego. And I mean
Yeah.
that with the most love. It's just like
Yeah.
learning to set that ego aside and just hold yourself accountable for who you are.
It's like not a tradition I practice anymore, but like, growing up in adolescence, my stepdad, he's an advocate for homelessness and just general mental health, like on the streets, and he has been on my entire life, and I really love him for it. And he's like a little hero of mine for it. But he said to me, like, well, we weren't allowed to open Christmas presents on Christmas morning until we
Mhm.
went to the Union Gospel and we helped participate in serving food to, people who were using the soup kitchen. Um, People there for many different reasons. Some people are just alone and they know that other people will be there, and whatever their journey is that they get them there. And I remember one year my dad's like, oh, we're gonna sit down and eat, because like he noticed that my sister was being a little bit like extra with them, like here, and wasn't being really that humble about it, the experience. And so he says, oh, we're gonna eat breakfast here. And she was really quite upset, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I come from really humble beginnings, so it didn't bother me as much, but you could see it really bothered my sister. And I'll never forget this frail old man. He says, well, I'll take your breakfast if you're too proud to eat it. And she says, here, you can have it. And he looked at her and he literally started crying. He says, I wish I had the pride you did. He says, but then come again, it's never kept me warm, and it's never kept me fed,
Mhm.
and it's never kept me loved. And it really upset me. And my sister broke down, and there was something that we both learned that day. And it was a kind of a beautiful experience, but it's true. And it's never really gotten me anywhere really.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Not at
Yeah.
all.
That's
That's a good fucking story.
I was just gonna say the same thing. That is, and like the outcome of like what he said was, yeah.
But it's true, right? And it's like he's again, like we have to get to that really crazy, like extreme place before we're like, whoa.
Well, I think this is the part of the show where you're a rapper, so we're gonna make you rap.
Oh, no, that's not gonna be a
I'm
thing.
just joking. I'm
I'm
playing.
a songwriter. I'm a
Yeah.
songwriter.
Well, I just for everybody else there. So Maggie did write a little rap for our local traffic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
station.
So AM
Yes.
730 Chorus
Yeah.
Entertainment. I just left a little voicemail from one phone to another. And then like the producer, Jeff Alvin, from the like Fox and the producer over there, he like called me and he's just like, hey, and I went in and they were very radio about it. It was like a minute and 47 seconds. He's like, hey, you need to bring it down to 24 seconds because we only have a 27 minutes or 20-second spot. And it was crazy. I got there and he's like, oh yeah, so we just need you to change a couple words. And I'm like, that's not how that works. But thankfully his computer broke down for about 10 minutes so I could quickly rewrite that 24. But I was on air for like almost 2 months. I was really, and people are fucking hating on me so hard. Like, it's so funny if you go on my Facebook, like, he's like, oh yeah, like because I got to go for a studio tour and I got to meet like Ian Hardacre and all them because I'm like a huge like terrestrial radio fan, have been since I was a kid. And I'll never forget, he was just so kind. But on the radio, he's like, yeah, a lot of people are calling in and saying like, it's terrible. I'm going to stop listening to your station if you don't stop playing it. And he's like, I invite any of you to write a song about traffic radio and send it in. He says, we'll play it. And like, they were totally like super supportive and they were just really kind guys. Yeah. I had a great experience with that.
You want to share the prize that you wanted to, that you got to do after?
Yeah, I got to go around and do like the whole tour of the Fox thing. I got to the hat
put the helm, the mascot head on.
It's pretty gross.
They were gonna give her money, and she's like, "No, I don't want the money. I want to wear the mask." At least
and I got some swag. I did. I've got like I got some stuff right over there on my memory wall. I got like the sweater, like the scarf, and I got some really cheap, shitty glasses, but I love them so much.
Yeah, fuck the money. Let me just wear the mascot hat for fucking a second.
Your liability money. You're just giving that to me because you're playing me on the radio. You just got to give me something. I'll take swag, man. And I'm so happy I did because, like, literally they stopped going on air. And, like, I've been listening to the traffic radio station for as long as I've been a driver, like 20 plus years. Like, and I was just so devastated to hear that they were canceled. I just, like, and I love that the fact that, like, that was people were getting in car accidents, and I loved the fact that people were like, it's because there was no traffic radio and we didn't know what was ahead. Like, people were genuinely upset.
Just blaming on the fact they weren't on air anymore.
Yeah, man, they're going to be canceling the one in Toronto too here soon. Chorus Entertainment's going to be getting rid of your
no.
Yeah,
then so good.
This is how we feel.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I couldn't relate because I didn't know what you were talking about. Now I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know that like AM 730 traffic radio, Eye in the Sky with the helicopter. Like, God knows how they fucking afford a helicopter in the sky every day for a radio station.
Yeah, that's probably why they're shutting it down, because they can't.
No, of course.
Now they have drones, that's why.
Well, no, I think that they split it, right?
In the Sky. Yeah, there's a lady up there, man.
Oh, yeah. And then what? 1130's they got a plane.
Well, no, it's the helicopter. It'd be really awkward in a plane.
No, they have a plane. There is a plane.
They have a plane?
1130 plane, yeah. They
fly like around water, like the small ones?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a little charter, like airplane. Yeah, like
yeah. Cessna or whatever the hell they're called or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how 747.
Buddy, that's how they do the traffic. Like, usually it's a helicopter. These guys got a plane, and you see the plane doing circles and shit sometimes. Wild.
Crazy.
And we're worried about cow carts for emission.
Yeah. Hey, I am very excited to whenever we do it, but I just want to say, sorry, my dog is going crazy today. If you guys can hear her in the background here.
Barely.
But I am very excited for her answers.
I know. Do you remember what yours was?
Fuck no, I don't.
Dude,
we
need to know.
Oh my God.
Oh
yes, okay. I do. I do.
Okay, you got it?
I do.
You go first.
Okay, so we just introduced a new question last Friday.
Week.
So, or Monday. Hey, can you calm down? I'm trying to do a podcast here. She's right here. So what we do at the end of our show, she wants to be on the show. At the end of the show, we ask, well, first Anthony started with one question, then it turned to two, and now it's three.
All right. 3-part question.
So the first one, I'll ask first then. If you could tell your younger self, what would you tell your younger self now? I think that was it. I botched it. I gotta
No,
listen
that's
back to
fine.
the
I know
other
what you
episodes.
mean. Like if I had to
Yeah.
go back to like a teenage years and tell myself
Tell
something, like
something.
what would it be?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I grew up and I graduated from high school in 2003, right? So I'm part of the generation of like Vitamin C, the graduation song we all had to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that there was like a really weird era of music. And there was this one song called Wear Sunscreen. Do you remember this song? And it was really it was about a speech almost rather than a song. And it had like a little bit of like techno music.
Yes, I do. Holy
Yes.
fuck! I'm gonna put that on my
Listen to it
playlist because I
again.
remember that shit. Wow.
Listen to it again and fucking believe it. And you know what? I would say
Wear
like
sunscreen.
another part, because I just like listen to the song and truly believe it. I believe every word because he's so right, and you don't appreciate it now when you're like 13 years old listening to this shit, but like really believe it. And I always wear sunscreen. But another thing is,
Wait. So is that your answer? Are you telling
yeah,
me
I would say,
your?
you know what? Just listen to sunscreen.
Oh, I thought I was gonna wear sunscreen. I thought that's what you're trying to tell your younger self.
No, the song's
Wear
called
sunscreen.
Wear Sunscreen.
That would be
But
mean because I'm pale as fuck.
I'm telling you, man, like there's so many things. It's like, like just be kinder to yourself and just like
Yeah.
your self-love. Like really, when we're done with this, listen to it and tell me that it's not 100% the truth. But when you're 13 years old, you just don't see it.
Yeah. I am playing that song after
Do
this
it
shit
right
is done.
after you do it, and then give me a call.
I will.
I'm thinking of the stupid shit that I used to listen to in high school, and I can't think of the name of the fucking band. They did the "You and Me, Baby Ain't
Oh, yeah.
Nothing But Mammals." Who the fuck was that?
Fuck,
Something
man.
dogs, like the Greyhound dogs, or like the
something dogs. Yeah,
Bloodhounds.
I know it.
The
Bloodhound
Gang.
Gang.
Bloodhound
That's it, yeah.
Yes,
And I was
thank
like, it's
you.
a dog name of some sort.
Bloodhound.
Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Thanks
Which is
so
not
much.
as
Now I just
important.
hear,
Yeah.
da-da-da-da-da-da. It's gonna be stuck in my head now.
It's
Hell
so
yeah.
much less important than that song that you told us to listen to.
No,
It just-
honestly, it was a song, and I think it was
Mambo number
such
5.
an underrated song because like I listened to it again when I was older, and I was like, oh, whoa, and it like gave me goosebumps because I'm like, man, this was so like over my head, like right past my ears, one ear out the other, and it was just it was such important information that I wish I had really cherished when I was younger.
And it's called Wear Sunscreen.
Wear sunscreen. There's two
Okay.
versions, and both of them are exactly
Link will
the
be in
same.
the
The tune is a bit
description.
different.
Put that shit in, like, listen to it,
Yes.
chat, and everybody that's listen to it, and tell us what you think about it in the comments. Let us
Leave
know.
us
We
a
want to
fucking
know.
comment.
Leave us a comment and say if you agree with Maggie.
Okay, question number 2. This is the OG question.
Yeah, it is.
What's your message to the world in one sentence?
Be careful how you love, because not
Okay.
all love is genuine, and be careful whose love you accept. Love is a very, very fragile thing, and I've had many experiences, but I would say just be careful how you love. Loving too much can wear yourself thin, and always make sure you love yourself, because you can't love anybody else. Eric, you ever look in the mirror and say, I love you?
Not in a long time.
Anthony?
I do.
I do it on a regular basis, and it was the fucking hardest thing I had to learn how to do in my self journey.
Mm-hmm.
And the first couple of weeks, it meant nothing. I'm just like, oh, yeah, I love you, love you, love you. And then one day I really sat there and I really meant it. And it touched me in a way. And there was something that I learned from that made my love so much more of quality and value to others.
See, I haven't done that since God for a long time, to be honest with you. But I did have, before I moved into this house, I had my whole glass closet mirror thing was filled with Post-it notes of good stuff. I did have I love you and stuff, love yourself. I did have that, and I used to say that a lot. I don't have that shit anymore. I don't have one of those sliding. I could put it up anywhere, actually. Now I'm just being fucking
But that real
lazy.
cinematic moment that we see in movies, like that we see with other people, like in The Notebook, when you're like looking into one another and you're like, I love you so much. Like, we don't do that for ourselves enough, right?
Yeah.
So be careful how you love. And that includes yourself. Like, like not enough of us are kind enough to each other and to
I love it.
ourselves.
I
Yeah.
love that answer. Like we've never had anything on like in that direction before, really, like
No.
how that was. So
We've never had the same answer twice
yeah,
either.
yeah.
But that's a
Yeah.
whole other.
Ball game.
That's a whole other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and it can
Yeah.
it doesn't just extend to people. This extends to drinking. This
Mhm.
extends
Yeah.
to, like anything
Everything.
really. It's just like be
Everything. Yeah.
careful how you love, right? Like
Mhm.
don't love cocaine too much because
Mhm.
it'll be like the
Mhm.
worst relationship of your life, right? Like there's so many things that we learn to love and we take for granted, and how much we put into that. It can be a really intoxicating and dangerous thing, right? So
Definitely.
especially for someone like me, because I have a bit of a, what is it, the reactive narcissism. So I have a tendency of love bombing situations and then just taking it all away once I get what I need from that.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be a really dangerous thing. So I'm learning how to love, and I'm learning how to do that properly in not a way that just serves me.
Yeah.
So
That's
Mhm.
amazing. Good
that's
for you,
that's
Maggie.
that's my answer right
You
now.
know what?
That could change a couple years from now.
Even better, Maggie. Like, good for you for recognizing that and
Yes.
and and saying that. You know, that's even a great step alone in itself.
Easier said than done, though, my
Yeah.
friend. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I
it's
know.
a work in progress, and
Yeah,
if I don't put the work in,
definitely.
it's gone.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Last
Are you ready
shotgun.
for the final question?
yeah,
What is your definition of home?
I guess it kind of piggybacks off my last question. It's where I learned to hone that love. It's where I put it all in my trust.
Mm,
It's You could be anywhere. Like I come from very humble beginnings. I come from, from a lot, and then it all taken away because the government like seized stuff from my father, and like it was all gone like overnight, and like all of a sudden like I'm in a trailer sharing a
Mhm.
bedroom with my brother, and like and yeah, I just stopped putting a lot of value into like the physical being of where that is, and realizing very quickly it's where I put all my love and attention. That's my
mhm.
home, right? So for
Beautiful.
me right now it's here, but yeah, it's really just about where I put that love and attention. That's it.
Love
Could
it.
be anywhere.
And that's like the one thing that I really hope my kids can understand when they get older. It took me fucking 32 years to realize like the effort and the impact and the love that my parents had for me. I wouldn't say 32 years, like 29, 30 years to kind of realize that. And like being on my side of it now with my own kids, it's like, man, I just hope my kids can see one day that like no matter what happened, be it good or bad, like it was always with love. Even me and their mom separating, her and I separating didn't diminish the love for her that I had as the mother of my kids.
No.
Hmm.
That love will not go anywhere. Do I love her in a different form than when we were together? Absolutely. That
Yeah.
changed. But she is my best fucking friend. And she
Yeah.
gave me the best two fucking gifts on this planet.
Your love
You know?
language changes. That's about
Yeah.
it. The relationship doesn't change, right? Like you'll
Yeah.
always love somebody, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, your love
Mhm.
language changes.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I had that weird like moment in the kitchen with my daughter the other day because she's like really into baking right now. So I had to buy her. I fucking bought her a stand mixer, cake pans, the ones with the spring molds, fucking all that stuff, and just like in the kitchen, like baking cupcakes with her for my birthday party. It's like, man, like I hope you just see that it's not about your fucking pink stand mixer and your cupcake trays. It's like I get to do this with you, and I'm
Yeah. The
doing this with
memories.
you because I love you.
And it does make a difference. I can tell you, like straight from experience, like all of my fathers put a stupid amount of time into me. I didn't realize it until I heard someone say it. He's the MK, that rapper guy, blonde hair, skinny.
MGK.
MGK.
That's the guy. Okay, so he was saying, and someone interviewed him. He's like, "Oh, what do like as a father, like, what's your one thing you recommend?" He says, "Always compliment your daughter and always let her know how you feel, because one day she's gonna find a man, and she's not gonna be easily persuaded by being called beautiful because she already knows it. All
Mhm.
these men in my life, my three fathers, I'm telling you, they praise to this day. There is not a single month that goes by that I don't go and actually spend genuine time with them and like sit down and work on the car, or, you know, go out and have lunch, or just like go out and do some meal prepping for the week, or just like in general, you know, like going up to the cabin and like working on a project together. Like it's really, really, really important. And we don't even purposely make that time. The time it makes time for us, like that space makes time for us, and it's so organic and it's so natural because they kept showing up and they were consistent, that it became it is not normal when I don't see my parents. It's just not normal, right? Like, and I'm a 40-year-old woman nearly, and like I will tell you, I spend most of my time with my family, like my grown parents. I go to them, they come to me, we have dinners together outside of holidays. It's a very normal thing because we made it that way. And I really loved when he said that, because I didn't even realize it. Yeah, I love a compliment. Doesn't persuade me for shit, because my entire life I had three amazing men telling me, like, you're so beautiful, you're so smart, like, how did I get so lucky to have such a great daughter? And like, it's such a normal part of my world that it doesn't overly flatter me. You know, it just builds my confidence, and it makes me know that I can trust you and I can give those compliments back to you, right? But like, yeah, it's just like it's a completely normal thing, and I love that. I love that. I love hearing dads being totally on board with that, and it does. It's a huge effect, and even if you don't even notice it right away, like there's a huge effect to that. A huge effect to that.
Awesome. Well, Maggie, I have to say thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to doing this.
Well, I mean, I have to say, you, out of like, you know, this 3-week women thing that we had here, this little 3-week women's season, I guess. It was funny how like
it's a hot
Anthony
girl
said,
summer. No.
There you go. But I mean, it's funny how it worked out. It just was 1, 2, 3 in a row, right? So it was a little magical, and you left us off with a bang. So I appreciate it. It was such a great conversation, and you know, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Well, hopefully, you'll have me again in the future, and
definitely
make sure listen to wear sunscreen. I'm telling you,
I'm
it is
going
a
to.
thing. It is a thing. It is a motto. Like, honestly, like I said, I didn't really truly appreciate it. Listen to those words and just like, he's not lying. He's not lying. Let's make this song a thing again.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
You know what? I'm gonna put it on the exit of this episode.
I'm gonna
put it on the exit of this episode. So.
Fuck yeah.
Such a good song.
I will do it.
Yes.
Sick.
So if you want to hear the song,
call.
wait till the outro, and you'll hear a clip of it. There you go.
I'm gonna wait.
Fuck yeah.
Well, not here, when it drops on Friday.
Oh, okay, yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
I will do that. I will do that.
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Well, on that note, again, thank you, Maggie. I love you so
Thank
much.
you so
I appreciate
much,
you.
Maggie.
You guys,
You know,
thank you so much for
appreciate you.
having me into your space, and thank you to all the men out there for inviting women into this very like sacred male space. And you know, it's a really wonderful thing that you guys are doing here. And if there's
Thank
anything I can do to help support what you're doing, just let me know. I'm totally here. And you know, again, just for people in general, like, you know, like I'm totally available. I always make myself available for people who genuinely are looking for some resources. I don't advocate like with advice. I advocate through resources and just like helping people navigate maybe a couple of little small things. And, you know, I genuinely will make myself available to certain types and people. So if you know a friend or whatever, just feel free to reach out.
And if you want to sit in the hot seat, like Maggie, hit us up at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll shoot some shit. If you got a story to tell, or if you just need someone to talk to and vent, man, we got you. And we got all the resources. You can check it out also on our website at rawminds.ca, which I haven't updated. I need to do that, and I will get on that at some point here. Huh?
It'll happen when it's meant to happen.
Yes, it'll meant. But we do have, if you go to the resource page, we got resources for you in pretty much almost every country that we could find. If yours isn't on there, shoot us an email. I mean, I have this program. It'll help. We can get all the resources or whatever in your city, what you need. So we're here to gotcha. We're here. We're here and we gotcha. Holy fuck. It's time for bed almost.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh yeah, it's probably late over there too.
Oh yeah, it's
11:15 here right now.
Yeah.
Oh geez, yeah, it's work night.
That's okay.
On that
I
note,
signed up for this.
Godfather out.
Godfather out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maggie.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thanks so much for having me.
We'll
Good
see
night,
everybody
guys.
next week.
I'll see you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That's awesome. Well, brother,
Yeah, man.
it's over. So
It's over.
it's over until next week.
Until next week.
We got some really, really good guests coming up. We always have good guests coming up.
Yeah, man.
Who the fuck am I to say that, right? We always have. Everybody that we've had on have been fucking awesome. So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna do one more shout out to my Red Dead crew because I know I see them. They're watching this on YouTube. They've been, so thanks for the
Hell
support,
yeah.
guys.
Thanks, boys.
And
Fucking send us an email. Come on the show.
fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hell
Are you
yeah,
still
brother.
recording?
I am, man.
Fuck.
Yeah, bro.
Hell
But
yeah.
anyways, I think we'll end her there, man, and we'll start again
Next week.
next week. Exactly.
Yep.
And we are gonna be on a podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You
We
know
are gonna be on a podcast. But we'll let you guys know about that a little bit later when we work out
once
the
we have
details.
some numbers and some answers and some info.
And we're not saying money numbers, just like phone numbers and dates and times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, well, on that note,
we'll let you know.
yes. Well, on that note, I'm out of here.
Me too.
Bye.